All right, so we're live. Um, just gonna wait a little bit for people to come on in. Uh, Beautiful day here. We had a robin's nest um, set up. She a mama bird kind of set up her nest on top of this septic tank panel, and the babies just flew away yesterday. So that was pretty cool to see. And I think I kind of see them flying around. They were pretty much gone yesterday once they took off. Um, and they haven't been back since, unless, I don't know, all of a sudden like three or four little robins just showed up. So it could be them. But the thing that was amazing is how quickly those birds reach from the time they hatch to the time they fly away is something like 11 days. It's crazy. Maybe it's like somewhere between 6 and 11 days. It was shocking how quickly they were able to get all their feathers and fly away. So we had actually, my daughter and my wife actually put together a portfolio for the school project she was working on, and kind of showed the stages of the baby, the mother making the nest, and then the eggs in the nest, and then and then the baby birds hatching and all that, and then flying away. And the day that her project was due, that was the day the birds all flew away. So it was good timing. But yeah, I think I'm still seeing some of the birds flying around here right now. But anyways, there's just one person in the chat. I'm not sure if what time is it? 7:20 is probably the best time to start a live chat, but because everybody's probably eating dinner. But it's really nice here today. The weather's perfect. It's probably like 68 degrees. Got the crickets in the background. If it wasn't so hazy from all the stuff they're spraying, it'd be nice. It wouldn't be so muggy, but oh well. I guess they have to cloud seed. But I don't know about you guys, but something about when they do that, the cloud seeding, it messes with my respiratory system. I can definitely feel it like in my chest, and sometimes it gives me like anxiety. So let me know in the chat real quick, whoever's there, if there was a thumbnail associated with this video. Sometimes I've been having a hard time getting the thumbnails to upload when I do the live streams. Also, what I should be doing when I do these live streams is doing is scheduling it. But my schedule around this house is so volatile. It's just so crazy and perplexed. I just have to, whenever I get a time to do a live stream, I just gotta jump on it and take it. So unfortunately, it's too hard for me to schedule anything like this. But if the opportunity arises in the future, I'll definitely try to schedule these live streams so that you guys are notified ahead of time and don't miss them. But kind of the key thing to the live streams is that it allows me to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. Kind of keeps the conversation going. But I did title this episode "Politics, Prepping, and Politics Equals Bad Combo," and I'll tell you, when I started this channel, I had a lot of things kind of floating around in the back of my head, like video ideas, and I kept jumping back and forth thinking like, don't do that video, Joe. Just stay with prepping. Just stick with prepping. But it's kind of hard because prepping is really as much as I enjoy it and as much as it's a part of my life, it's still just a, just a small part of my life. Um, and even though I do get comfort from prepping, I mean, some people might do it from just strictly like a fear based standpoint. I don't really do it that way. I mean, I got into prepping from my own personal experience, just from my own personal experience with something that had happened, and I just had concluded that maybe putting away some food and money is probably a good idea. And just from, and this was because of the housing crisis and everything collapsing, and I found myself without anything. I mean, I found myself completely stranded without any money at all, and that was a scary place. And I just made a commitment that I'd never end up in that situation again. And that's what kind of got me prepping. But however, I will say that it is always something that appealed to me. I just, for whatever reason, never, I just never adopted it as a lifestyle. Because I remember there's this movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a movie, The Survivors, with Robin Williams and Walter Matthau, I think. It's an old movie, but it's a classic movie. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you should rent it. It's funny, but I remember watching that movie as a kid, and that movie was actually a total spoof. Probably the only movie I can think of that a Hollywood ever put out, which was like a total just kind of a spoof on preppers and the survivalist community. But that movie is that Robin Williams. He's kind of the main character in that movie. He gets robbed at gunpoint, and he somehow is able to like get the guy's gun, and he's able to like kind of defend himself in this situation and save his life because he has this firearm. So he just immediately adopts this like obsession, an affinity for firearms. And so he goes out like after the incident and starts just stockpiling guns and ammo, and then ends up like leaving his girlfriend and like joining some survivalist community. And but anyways, it's a funny movie. But there's some good scenes because I remember there's a scene in that movie where he's in his cabin and he's got all of his 5-gallon buckets of food, of like freeze dried food. I remember thinking at the time when I was a kid watching it, I think I was like 10 years old when that movie came out. Like that looked really cool. It was like this guy had his cabin up in the woods with all of his food and his guns and everything. And so that was always something that definitely appealed to me as far back as I can remember. But, for whatever reason, it didn't really take until I was like in my late 30s. So, but anyways, I did title this Raymond Alec. Right on. Welcome. I did title this this video Politics and Prepping, or Prepping and Politics, Bad Combo. And it is. I have a lot of opinions. I'm a very opinionated person, but I will try throughout this channel to kind of keep that stuff low key. But there is just some stuff that is like it's almost like hard for me to make like my bug out bag videos and get all these other videos accomplished when I have these other these things I want to say in the back of my mind. I'm not sure if I'm even gonna like really express that much in this live show, but and there's definitely some areas I won't even touch. But the one thing I was thinking about today, and I didn't want to do this a video. I kind of went back and forth. Should I make a video of this, or should I just do a live stream? I'll probably just do a live stream. Yeah, the bug out bag videos. I'm doing one right now. I'm trying to figure out how to kind of go about doing it because I kind of want to. I always get tempted to try to like pack all of this stuff into one video. And then I kind of think, I could kind of spread this out and make a few videos out of this. But obviously, we're into spring, almost creeping up on summer here, and so a lot of the components in my bug out bag have changed. I've swapped it out for less cold related stuff, and I added some new things because my daughter and I actually went up and did kind of like a mock bug out run last week, and there was actually quite a few holes I found in my preps. Not only just stuff that I should have that I didn't have, but the big sin is that I was robbing my bug out bag stuff, which is like cardinal sin number one in prepping. Yeah, I will do a video camping here soon, like this week, before the weekend is over. I'm gonna have a camping video going. Probably do it. At least get it going. I mean, at least finish it tomorrow and probably upload it Saturday. I don't know. We'll see. Uh, but yeah. What was I talking about? Yeah, the bug out bag videos. So what was I talking about? I was talking about the subject matter that I've been thinking about. I have two things that I kind of want to share, and one is, there's one thing we don't hear a lot about in this community, or really, you definitely don't hear about it in politics, at least, on the right side of right wing string of politics, and that is solution. Nobody talks about how to solve this, how to keep, because this is really, I mean, as much as, I enjoy prepping, I don't really want it to, if it didn't have to be my lifestyle, I wouldn't want it to be my lifestyle. It's not really, I mean, I will say that there's definitely like a fear component to it, that propels it, especially now. I go through waves, and I always thought, I've been prepping long enough to have, I've been through all the ups and downs. And I mean, as far as like listening to all the people saying, oh, okay, this is, it's coming down now, it's coming down now. And, I started prepping in 2011. We haven't really, I mean, there's been a lot of crazy things that have happened, but there hasn't been like a total SHTF situation, other than, I guess, COVID was pretty bad. But it wasn't like total, devaluation of the dollar, total collapse of the dollar, total like no food, no money. I mean, we we kind of made it through that, as sick as it was, but nobody really talks solution. What is the solution? And I'll say this. A big part of my prepping comes from not only the experience I went through when I lost my house and lost all that, but it comes from my sobriety. So I don't know if I've ever shared this in like any of these videos, but I quit drinking like I checked myself into rehab when I was 19 years old, for the first time. And I stayed sober for a year, went back out. I stayed sober through my 21st birthday, and then I went back out, and I kind of bounced in and out of sobriety for like 3 more years, and then finally called it quits when I was 23 years old. So I haven't had a drink since June 13th, 1999. So I've been sober almost 24 years here. I'll have 24 years in June. So half of my life was spent in recovery. A lot of that was spent because it was such a huge part of my life. Not only was I like not drinking, but I was heavily involved in recovery. And for the better half of my life, I mean, I was running like rehabs and transitional living houses. Sorry, I missed that comment. I was managing sober living houses for young people. And I watched a lot of guys get sober, but I watched way more guys die, like young guys die, especially at the end when the opiates started getting involved. That was killing off people like you wouldn't believe. And then I just checked out because I just couldn't hack it. I wasn't, and that's was never my thing. I'm not like, I was never really a big drug user. I was kind of just a old, old school alky. Um, but a lot of my attitudes came from sobriety and the old guys, like the old timers, um, that helped me out of that place um, and brought me to like an understanding of God that was pretty intense. Um, I got sober luckily, and I say this, I got sober luckily when we still had like the real men in AA who would like chest thump you. And I know a lot of guys hated that stuff, and I hated it too. Is demeaning, it was humiliating, uh, and but it's what I needed. It broke me down. You just have these guys like tell me like you don't, hey, you're out of your mind. I mean, the first piece of advice I got when I got sober was, hey Joe, you're so crazy that if you just do the opposite of what you want to do, you'll probably end up making the right decision. And I still use that. I still use that same principle today, like in a lot of different occasions. But it still works sometimes. I'm still crazy, but um, so that was the kind of upbringing I had in my recovery, and they brought me to God like just like tooth and nail. Hold on, uploading. Okay, I have another video I just made today. Um, it looks like it just posted, but I have another video on the garden, my garden up the hill from me. So I have the garden, but you'll see the video. It's coming up pretty soon. But anyways, back to that, and I'm gonna tie this in to kind of how this all you know this all ties in to prepping and everything, and politics for that matter. But that's what my sobriety was, that I was a sick person and I needed to heal spiritually and I needed to heal mentally. And the mental, and it took, I'll tell you right now, it took 10 years for me to get to a point where like the healing, like where I kind of reached the top, where I was like the first 10 years, like it was kind of an undoing process where it was just undoing all the lies and the deception, like that, all the things that I deceived myself. Because my whole interpretation of myself and the world around me was completely corrupted and polluted by alcoholism. Because when you have something going on in your life that is like degenerate, and it's that it's bad, but you just want to keep going, and in your you have something that's constantly you know like fueling your conscious, right? You're trying to desperate to try to subdue your conscious, and what you do is you tell yourself lies, and I started doing that from a very early age. So I had a lot of lies I had like created. My worldview was just completely corrupted with false assumptions and lies. And so, yeah, that first 10 years was just nothing but an undoing process. And it wasn't until like, within 10 years of sobriety was I able finally to start actually receiving some like gifts and things where, I kind of like bridged the peak there, and was actually then really starting to take in some good stuff, and start developing a healthy way of looking at things. But that is how I see our country. Our country is, it's sick, you know. And when I say our country, I mean the people, because that's essentially what our country is. It's just people. We always say, oh, the government does this, the government does that. The government is people. The people, they think that it's this machine doing things, but it's not. It's people doing things. We have people. sick people, crazy people that are doing these things, that are creating these laws, that are creating these television shows and these movies that are doing this stuff to us. And it's all by design for sure, because there's a pattern to it. There's like a creativeness to it, which means it is by design. If it was random or these people didn't know what they were doing, it would be more sporadic, and there'd be some up points. There'd be some up points every once in a while, but it's just a gradual decline, which means it's intentional. So with that said, that's where we are as a country. We've just become sick with and polluted with the abundance. We're sick with food, the food that we're eating. We're sick with the amount of the consumption that we have of just cheap products. The pornography, drugs, alcohol. It's just made our country sick, and that's where we are, and we're justifying it. And it's been going on for a very long time. Very long time. Probably well over 100 years. It's been slow, but now we're starting to see it. It's kind of like right now we're starting to see, this is like the fruit of what's been building up for the last 100 years. Everybody says that like the 50s, like, well, let's go back to the 50s. Well, the 50s was like, the 50s was like a byproduct of like 200 years. That was the 50s was the fruit that had blossomed from the momentum that had been building up from 200, 300, 400 years of work and war and fighting and sacrificing, and then boom, you had that. You had the 50s. The 50s just didn't come out of nowhere. They came from that, and so now we're hitting a bottom. So just like an alcoholic gets sick, just like an alcoholic or drug addict gets sick, or somebody who's addicted to whatever, food, whatever it is, you're in a circle, you're in a cycle, right? Yeah, you should do a bug out bag video. Am I coming in okay? Is this stream working okay? Because I don't know if I'm connected to the router here or which router. We have two routers on this property. I don't know if I'm connected to the main router. It's working. Okay, good. So I'll try to wrap this up because I can get carried away with this, but and there's another issue I kind of want to touch on real quick, but I think that's where we're in a cycle, man. And I think here's the key. I mean, honestly, very clear. Here's the key. We need to reach a point. First of all, what do they say when in recovery? The first thing you have to do is you have to admit you have a problem, right? So you have to identify it. Well, we haven't even identified what the struggle is. I remember there was this guy saying, when I was first getting sober, there was this spiritual guy I used to follow, and he would always just use analogies. That was like his favorite thing to do. And I love the analogies because it just really, it painted the picture so well for me, and just really helped to articulate and really get a defined, idea of how I needed to see things. But one of the interpretations he would always use is like, it's like, imagine you have a rash on your leg, right? And so you go to the doctor, and the doctor prescribes you some ointment for your rash. So you put the ointment on your leg, and the rash gets better. You get some relief, and you're like, oh wow, that's great. But all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the rash comes back. So what do? You just go get the ointment, you put it on your leg. But this time, instead of the rash going away, it starts to spread. So you think, okay, I'll just put more ointment, right? And the rashes just keep spreading, and it's getting worse, and it's going over your body and creeping up to your neck, and you're just taking baths in the ointment, and you're just obsessed with like, this used to work, I'm just going to stick with it. And you're not getting any better. So what do you have to do? You have to stop reassess the situation. Obviously, we haven't identified the problem. That solution may have worked temporarily, but it's not the correct solution. If it was, you would have had permanent relief. And so that's one way of looking at it. Obviously, we have problems in this country because we haven't identified the problem. If we knew what the problem was and we identified the problem correctly, we would know what the solution was. And we're applying solutions, but clearly not the right solutions because nothing's working. But we just keep doing it, you know. It's just a nightmare to have to watch it. I don't even watch politics. I certainly don't. I haven't watched cable news in probably 10 years. You know, even on the internet, there's probably like one guy I follow. Free merch. Do I know you? You sound like somebody I know. I don't know how I would give anybody free merch. You got to at least pay for shipping. So, but I do have some products. You go over to my About page. I do have some products. I'm actually making some like medical kits. I don't really like to like shill them too hard on this channel. It just seems a little cheesy, but I don't know. I kind of, I'll plug my products from time to time, but I got some cool like trauma kits and stuff like that. I got some cheap ones too. I got some kind of pricier ones, but I just got a big shipment of medical products. And believe it or not, it's funny, and I wasn't anticipating this at all. I started getting like these big orders from Ukraine. I guess a lot of people in Ukraine, they're just short on medical supplies. So I was getting people messaging me trying to get deals on like, you know, if they bought bulk and to have me ship them straight to Ukraine. But I don't do bulk. I'm just a small, this is just a side little hustle. This is just a side little hustle I have on the side here. But back to the you know, the solution to things. So, you know, that's where we're at. We haven't identified the problem, and then we still have to identify. I mean, we're a long ways away from healing in this country, unfortunately. I mean, I hate to say it, but we're a long ways away because we're not even at the point yet of identifying it. So, and if this, you know, and I remember thinking too, when I had finally kind of was able to put my finger on the level of deception that like alcoholism and drug addiction plays on your mind. I remember thinking when I finally pulled out of that, and I was looking back on just like how like diabolical and like, because they say in AA, you know, this disease is cunning, baffling, powerful, right? And it is. I mean, that is it's like not an understatement in any shape, way, or form. It is very cunning, baffling, and and it is powerful, and is an extremely difficult. It's an extremely difficult problem to overcome. And I would say this to people getting sober. I go, you know, one of the things I always say, like, you know, this program, getting sober, is not for like weak people. Like, it's going to require every fiber of your being to survive this thing. And that's why, and nobody will say this, I don't know how many people know this, but the retention rate in AA is only like 3%. It's somewhere, yeah, like 3 to 5% tops. Most people don't, they come in, they don't get it, because the sacrifice, what it requires to heal, to get away from it, is just so intense. And I mean, I would tell most people what I did in order for me to finally overcome it, and they were like, I never would have done that. Because this is what I realized, and this is why I got healed, and I think this is where our country needs to be. So my last drink, June 13th, 1999, I'll tell you, this is how it went down. It was Sunday morning. I was coming to from a weekend of drinking. I had actually had put together 6 months of sobriety, right, up until that point, and I had a friend was having a wedding, and all my friends came back into town, and it was Friday, and it was sunny, and here I am, like 6 months sober, and all my friends from high school are back, and they were like, "Hey, you want to go get some beer?" And because they didn't know I was sober, and it was like, yep. I mean, whatever commitment I had to my sobriety at that time, it just went out the window. It was the first time that I had ever just trashed sobriety like that before. Usually I would just con myself into like thinking, oh, I can handle it. Like it's not that big of a deal. And I would just trick myself into drinking again. But this time I just was like, yeah, forget this stretch of sobriety. I'm getting drunk. And so drank all that weekend. Sunday morning comes around, and here I am, for the millionth time, hungover, trying to figure out, oh, what am I going to do? Now, at that time, because I had stretched together a big chunk of sobriety, I was able to accumulate like a lot of good things, right? Because I was doing what I was supposed to do. So I had a good job, I had money in the bank, I had a nice truck, I had like good friendships going, and all that stuff was intact Sunday morning. And because I hadn't, it was like just a little relapse, right? I wasn't able to destroy everything. So it's Sunday morning. I'm thinking I got to get back, because I got to go work tomorrow. And, but at the same time, I'm thinking, how do what do I do? Like, what do I do now? Like, I mean, I threw that sobriety. Like, do I just go back to doing what I was doing as far as getting sober? Because why would I do that? It didn't work. It's because my mind is telling me, all right, relax. We'll just go back. We'll go to a couple more meetings. We'll get a new sponsor. Maybe we'll read a couple more spiritual books. Blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, it's like my old sponsor in the back of my head is like, man, like you're not gonna make it. Like this is it. This is a done deal. And then it dawned on me that the same thing. This is where it all came about. The same thing that was telling me how to fix myself and how everything was going to get better, let's just do this, was the same thing that was telling me 2 days before, it's beautiful outside, your friends are back in town, what a great day to drink. It's not like I had two people. I have two, although a lot of people think that that's what's going on. Everybody has this idea that we have a devil and an angel. There's a good side and a bad side, but there's not. At least not for me at that time. And I think it's kind of the same thing with this country. And that's what I realized is that the devil or the angel, right? I had a devil on this shoulder, an angel on this shoulder. That the angel was just the devil. I didn't, as disguised. It was like the angel was disguised, or the devil was disguised as an angel. And that was why I had two devils. And that was the thing. That's what kept me going in a circle. Is because I thought, now I'm on the good side. Heal, heal, heal. No, I'm on the bad side. If I was on a good side, it wouldn't send me back to the devil. If I was really with an angel, it wouldn't send me back to the devil, right? And it's kind of just a simple analogy here, but that's pretty much, what was going on. So it was this cycle, and so what do you do? So I'm realizing, well, I'm screwed. In other words, I just have two bad, like I just have two, like I got nothing going good. Like I have nothing good in charge of me. I have two devils in charge of everything. So what do you do? So all I could think, I'm like, I'm alive. Like I'm interactive with this world. I have to make a decision, right? And so I'm like, the only decision I can think of is the thing that I don't want to do. And so I'm like, you got to think of something that you don't want to do that is also going to like not enable you to drink. So at that time it was like, you're going to have to like cash in all your chips, everything that you've been able to save up, and you're gonna have to go check yourself into rehab. So essentially, you need to go lock yourself up because you can't be trusted. What do you do with somebody that is just hell bent on destruction? You don't. There, I mean, I had nothing good going for me uh, in here. So I'm like, if I can't I can't just spend the rest of my life getting sober and then tearing it down. And I knew that was what was going to happen. If I went down that road again of like, this is how I'm going to fix everything, I knew it's like, yeah, I might get 6 months sober again, I might get a year sober, I might get 2 years sober, but eventually I'm gonna get loaded because I'm on the path of the destructor, right? So I had to heal from that. Well, what had happened was that when I did that, and it was a true surrender. I just surrendered because what I realized, I'm incapable of making a good decision. So I guess I'm going to go have to lock myself up. That's the responsible thing to do. Otherwise, I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to hurt somebody else. So I need to go lock myself up, basically. And when I did that, what happened is that it allowed me, it allowed something other than myself to intervene and give me some true direction. And 2 weeks into that rehab, and it was tough to stay. I'll tell you, it was. I don't know what got me there because I had left like at 7. I'm driving at night, and it was kind of in the same direction as my house, and so I was like holding onto my steering wheel, thinking like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Just like this is stupid. You're quitting your job. You're taking all your savings and putting in this treatment center. Like, just." Like you're overreacting. Like this is stupid. Just turn around and go. Go back to your life. And somehow I was just like on autopilot, and I made it up to that treatment center, and even once I got there, even the guys, the counselors were like, "What are you doing here? Like, you're like on a winning streak. Nobody goes to rehab on a winning streak, because they're like, you're showing up with a car and money, and and I was like healthy, and so it was tough to stay. But 2 weeks into that, what happened was for the first time I had surrendered, and I had surrendered to myself, to the thing that was telling me what to do. And as a result, something else was able to intervene and speak. And I had my spiritual awakening, and I saw life for what it is. And from that point on, never drink. And it was just all healing from that point out. And it's just like they say, the truth sets you free. And that's essentially what it is. I think that's where we are as a country. We're just like, we're like a country that needs to go check itself in and surrender. And surrender to what? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what form. Free from, yeah, yeah. I know it's kind of a weird analogy, and you're probably like, how am I making that crossover? But it's true. It's very much, well, I think what our country's going through. When I say our country, I'll just reiterate: it's a people. As a people, we've just become sick. We become sick with opulence, meaning like we just consume, just buying all this cheap garbage from overseas, and cheap labor, and cheap food, and garbage food, and drugs, and alcohol, and pornography. It's just sick, man. Like we've just become sick as a country. We've turned our back on God. We don't even know up from down anymore. And even some of like the red pill communities, like they're still, because you might not know this, but there are a lot of detours like in the red pill community. A lot of people thinking that they have the red pill, but they're not. It's not red pill. It's just a lot of weird euphemisms there. The red pill is pretty ugly. It makes you feel very uncomfortable, just like the truth. The truth is very uncomfortable. Most people don't want to hear the truth. That's how you know when you're hearing the truth, is if it's like a gut shot. It's something you don't want to hear, because it means you have to do things you don't want to do. And I think as a country, we've just been, just like a drug addict, we've been trying to live this lifestyle. We've just been trying to live a life without conscience, is basically what we've been doing. Yeah. 7 deadly sins. So, what's it going to take, for the healing? I think people need to see it's going to take a bottom, you know, and then, and I don't know what that bottom's going to look like. I don't know. I mean, hopefully the solution, it doesn't have to be violent, because it doesn't have to be. I think that the solution could very easily just be a reprieve. Just stop engaging. People have to get to a point, and if that means that it has to be taken away, because that might be what happens. It might just end up, they just, we just lose it, and then we kind of get a reprieve from all this sin because there's just nothing left on the bone. That happens to a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics too. Most, 99% of people that go and check themselves in rehab and treatment are, like I said, not like Meister. They're not coming in on a winning streak. They're coming in on their knees, and they've lost everything. So there's just like, they're there because there's nowhere else to churn. That's why they're there. They've borrowed all the money they can borrow. They've manipulated every person in their life, and there's just nothing left. There's nowhere else to turn, and as a result, they get on their knees, and they go to God, and they realize what they've done. And maybe that's what needs to happen, and hopefully we get to that point, that we can learn, and that we don't just immediately go back to our old ways. But I know it's a big part of my prepping, is that in trying to live as much of a sustainable lifestyle as I can, so that I'm just not as I'm just not as reliant on the system. I don't I don't take a lot out of, I don't consume a lot, but I also don't produce, a lot. I'm not making a lot of money. And so, uh, and I'm smart with my money. I'm not consuming a lot of that, of the products out there. And as a result, because I'm not making a lot of money, I'm also not, feeding the beast, you know. And so I was going to kind of touch on another issue, but I think this issue has kind of like exhausted me. It was like another politic issue, or not even really politics, but just another, and it was kind of the reason why I started this live stream. But it was a phone call that I just had with this lady, and this is kind of off topic, but or going into another subject here. Yeah, so yeah, I just don't consume. I try not to consume very much, um, and we stay within a pretty small tax bracket, um, and I gotta work hard at that. Believe it or not, it's not easy to stay within some of these tax brackets, but I don't have a lot of debt. That was one thing I learned. I don't have car loans. I don't have home loans. Uh, I don't even have, I don't even have credit cards. So I don't have a lot of money tied up in interest. So I'm not paying some banker, like insane amounts of money. Um, and if more people did that, that's kind of a way we could, I don't know, achieve something. I would think you can just kind of, we can kind of just, just deny the beast of its blood, because that's kind of how it's just feeding off of us. We're just like tax cattle, and the more people get away from that and just try to, you can live a good, healthy, life without taking loans. Sorry, I missed that comment. Was that Savannah? Anyway, hey Savannah. Um, yeah. Um, Can other people see the comments? I don't know. Is there a live stream going or a comment thread in this stream? I don't think I've ever. Well, obviously, I've never watched one of my own live streams. So, uh, but if there is, let me know. I wish there was a way I could. I wish there was a way I could pull it up. There it is. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I can see, now I can see the comments and do the live stream. Sort of. Oh, they went away. Let me try this again. Live chat. Okay. Right on. Thanks, Savannah. Yep, we see the comments. Okay, good. Okay, good. Now I can see them. I just never. This is only like I've only done like a handful of live streams, and yeah, it's a modern world. I am not living in it. I am. I'm just not paying enough attention to it. That was always my issue. It was like when I played football for like 6 years, and I was good. I was strong. I was fast. I was probably one of the strongest, fastest people on the team, but I was just so like ADD and uninterested in remembering the plays that I just was like third string the whole time. It was terrible because I didn't want to like memorize any of the plays. It was just too complicated, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, God, I wish, if I had gone back, I would have just paid better attention. But anyways, yeah, I don't know how too much I'll get into this other issue. It's just funny because my family and I are trying to find a place to go camping this summer, and a lot of the campgrounds in our area are just full. They're just getting full really quick. You have to like reserve them, and then a lot of the campgrounds aren't taking the reservations, and there's just not a lot of places to camp. Just in general. Believe it or not, like ideal. And we're kind of looking for something sort of particular, which we're trying to find something that has like full hookups that we can hook our camper up to. And it's just, they're hard to come by. And there's this one area in particular that we found a few years ago. And the last time we were there, we had noticed there was just a lot of camp app. I'll check it out. The way I actually find campsites, it's kind of good because if there's a particular area, so for instance, if like a Coeur d'Alene River, so if like I was like, I want to go and I want to find campgrounds along this river or in this area. If you just go to Google and you go to Google Maps and you go to that area, right? You scroll in, kind of like Google Earth it, and then you type in the search campgrounds. It'll show you campgrounds like pinpoints all over that area, so you can see exactly where that campground is. And that's a really good way to find campgrounds. That's kind of how we found a lot. But anyways, all these campgrounds that we found last year they were really good. It's actually how we found Idaho, kind of like where we ended up living in Idaho too, the similar way. You'd find real estate that way too. But all the campgrounds in these areas were just full of people from Washington. And at the time, so I'm talking to the camp host, and this isn't like an unusual thing for Idaho because like even if you go to any lake, like Lake Coeur d'Alene, no matter what, or the Lake Penn d'Oriole up in Sandpoint there, or Hayden Lake, the houses, if you drive around the houses that are around those lakes, 90% of the license plates, the cars in front of those homes have Washington plates. I mean, it's just inundated with people from Washington, like the people who are vacationing here, all from Washington. And so I don't know what the deal is. I mean, I figured it was probably because, I don't know, like a lot of them had different excuses. So I'm talking to this lady who owns the campground in Idaho, It's a Washington number. She's from Washington. She owns the camping ground in Idaho, and I go. I think I mentioned, and I wasn't putting that together when we first had the conversation, but she said, or I said, yeah, last year we tried to find a camping spot and it was really tough because it had been inundated with people from Washington. And at the time, the Camp Post was saying it was because of the lockdowns and all the COVID restrictions at that time because their governor's crazier than the California governor. Locked down their campground so nobody could camp. So all those Washington people came to the campgrounds here and then they started to enjoy it. They're like, wow, this is really nice. And so I'm talking to this lady about it, and she starts getting defensive, and I'm thinking, like, I wasn't putting it together. She was from Idaho, I mean from Washington, and she just starts automatically getting really defensive with me, like, oh well, it's the Idahoans that are the true Idahoans that are trashing this place. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, they're filling up the trash cans and they don't dump their trash and and so I go, okay, yeah. And she goes, yeah, I mean, what did she say? So I'm thinking, well, we need more campgrounds here. And she goes, no, we don't. Then then all the areas here, like all the lakes and rivers, are going to get just filled up with more people from Washington. This is a person from Washington telling me this. And so she's basically bought this campground and she has it locked down. So it's just like you can't even get the campground. So I'm thinking, this is where there's these rumors. Like, Californians are getting the bad rap. And I'm thinking, it's not coming. Like, these problems into this state are not coming from California, I can assure you. And certainly it's not Californians that are turning. I mean, there's this rumor that Californians are going to come here and turn the state blue. If they do that, it will be because it'll be because they import their cheap labor. I'll tell you right now, if the Californians have anything to do with turning this state blue, it'll be because they don't want to pay for their houses to be painted by Americans, and they'll just because they've gotten so accustomed to their cheap labor in California, and they'll end up bringing that here. And I've already seen it happen. So if the Californians do anything terrible, that's what they'll do. But it is definitely, if they're the politics, like the liberal politics that's coming up here, is definitely coming. If it's coming from anywhere, it's coming from Washington, because they're just coming here because of the prices of everything, and it's only an hour, right? I mean, and I told this lady too, like, why are you here? Like, I go, isn't there anywhere to camp in Washington? And that's when she started getting defensive, and she's like, yeah. And I go, well, why aren't you in Washington then? I mean, honestly, I'm not, like, I'm just wondering, like, why? And then she slowly started telling me, oh, well, it's Inslee, and blah, 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 blah. But she still never really answered the question. I mean, it's like, yeah, I know, but I mean, do the politics really make the campgrounds bad? I mean, maybe they do. Maybe the politics are so bad that the campgrounds are bad. So there's probably some things she wasn't telling me there. Clearly didn't want to, like, step into that area. But so yeah, there's just like, yeah, there's not a lot of places to camp, and I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, I guess I'm gonna just keep checking out some more areas, and hopefully we'll find something. Um, you know, or else we're gonna have to go back to California to go camping or something. There were some nice spots, I'll tell you. That's like the one thing I do miss about California is, like, our camping. Oh man, it was like I mean, there were some really nice places up in the Sierras. Getting text messages, but there's some really nice places up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It just had a lot of, just a lot of fun stuff. But I don't know what's going on with that stuff now, because it's, a lot of the reason why a lot of those camping areas were so nice is because at that time, this is like when I was camping there, 70s, 80s, 90s, the wildlife, man, California was still, it wasn't completely insane yet, and they were still funding all their different departments and keeping their their campgrounds clean and their rivers full of fish, replenishing the wildlife and keeping, new fish circulating through the streams and lakes and everything. But guarantee you that's probably not happening now. I mean, they can't even take care of their roads, so I doubt they're, putting much stock into their wildlife programs. But yeah, it's a sad thing to see. I hope it doesn't happen here, but I will say, as far as like the people in California who would like turn a state from red to blue, they're not coming to Idaho. They're going to Oregon, they're going to Washington, they're going to Texas, Nevada, Arizona. They're going to those places. They don't go to Idaho, and the reason why is because they're still completely convinced that like Idaho is like straight like American History X. Like they honestly believe that this whole state is just like skinheads walking around. And I think it's like hilarious. I just let them believe that, and go, yeah, it is. It's just like that. It's terrible. Uh, Makes us really nervous to live here. So I let them have that little fairy tale. But no, it's a good place to live, but it is getting crowded for sure. Um, you know, I will say the difference between, I guess, I don't know, California and Idaho is if things start just going south, going south, if things start getting bad here, uh, the migration will go south instead of north. So, like in California, the migration went, when California started getting bad, it started getting bad from the south and then creeping north. So everybody was just fleeing north and north and north, right, until they ran out of space and then they started going somewhere else. That's pretty much what we did because the further north, and now it's like it doesn't even make any difference. And like the further north you go, like one of the worst parts that's happening with like Northern California is the because the yeah, it is a total lie. It's shocking how many lies there are. But yeah, the lies. People, like I said, I mean, people are going to have to, it's an undoing process, man. I mean, people are going to have to wake up to a lot of lies. A lot of things that you're like, no way, they didn't lie about that. Yeah, they did. And here's the kicker, and this is what I was trying to say, is that we see like, oh sure, yeah, there's propaganda, right? Our country sells us propaganda and lies, but it's just like they sell us like bad lies. They convince us that, this terrible thing is good. Even the good things that they've told you are lies. So that's where we have to get as a country, that even our understanding of what is good needs to change, because I don't know how that's gonna, because I mean, make no mistake, man. I mean, the people that we're dealing with, they have been at this for a long time, and they have been dedicated to it, and they're serious about it. And that's another reason why we're just not succeeding as a people, is that we're not. When I say like you look at the Republican Party, why they don't succeed is because they just don't take things seriously enough. They're just not taking anything seriously enough. They're just goofing off, making jokes about Joe Biden. And the other side is like talking about literally just like wiping people off the face of the earth. Yeah, and what's our side doing? Making like stupid, Biden jokes. It's really sad. I heard this analogy. It's like, the right will be like literally in a line to like the gulags, and they'll still be cracking jokes on their literally on their way to the gulags, and they'll still be cracking jokes like, I thought 1984 was a story, not an owner's manual. It's pretty obnoxious. Anyways, that's another reason I can't follow politics. It's just, yeah, I just don't take. We definitely don't take things seriously enough, and uh, we've lost we've lost our foundational, like, or we've lost our principles. I mean, everything has been co-opted. You know, our understanding of God, our understanding of marriage, our understanding of everything has been totally corrupted. And people are and it's been made totally taboo to the point where nobody wants to talk about it, because that's the real issue, is that all the most important issues that need to be addressed are so taboo you can't even talk about them. So, and if you do, you'll just be completely thrown out of polite society. Your bank account will be seized, and you'll just be destroyed. So just keep your mouth shut. That was actually one of the things that Alexander Solzhenitsyn said in his book, The Gulag Archipelago, and you know, he was living under like the Bolshevik Revolution, and he had just wrote like he was keeping a journal of what it was like to live under this communist Bolshevik regime, and he was saying that one of the things that the one key thing that allowed that system of government and that type of tyranny, what allowed it to persist, was that everybody was unwilling to be honest. Everybody became comfortable with lying, and became comfortable with a lie, and just didn't, you know, just went along to get along, and just kept their mouths shut, and nobody said anything. But everybody knew what was going on and who was doing it, but they just didn't say anything because what would you just get socially ostracized, and nobody, you know, just nobody wanted to be the first one to say anything, and be subjected to that just the social ostracization. And that's here now. I mean, and just like on some of the most, like, to me, like some of the most milk toast issues that I have you know, that I have shared with my family, um, or expressed to my family, certain parts of my family, I've been ostracized. I mean, they won't talk to me over like stuff where I'm like, God, you don't even know. It's like, you're ostracizing me over that. Like, that's not even like the bulk of it. But okay, yeah. I mean, that side has just gone uh, completely loony. I remember thinking there was a friends of my family who would like, they joined some like crazy religion, um, and the family, the daughter had married this guy that was part of this crazy religion, and they got married, and they wouldn't allow her parents to be in the, you know, to come to the wedding and watch them be married because they weren't part of the religion, right? They just shafted them. So a cult like crazy religion, like, we can understand. Well, we've had people in our family do that because of just because of politics. Like, you don't believe what we believe, you can't come to our wedding. We'll take the money. If you have gifts for us, we'll take that. Go ahead, send us some money and like a gift card. We'll take your money, no problem. But yeah, you can't come to the wedding because of your political views. It's insane, and I don't know. I've kind of almost gotten used to it, but it does hurt. It does hurt, especially when it's family. Um, you know, and it hurts mostly because it's just sad that people are succumbing to such a dark place, and that they're succumbing to this program, the propaganda, on such a deep level that they're willing to just shaft their own blood. That's just, that's shocking. I couldn't imagine like adopting any type of political ideology like so intensely where I would literally just start shafting people in my family because their views weren't in line with mine. Um, but whatever, it is what it is. It's getting kind of late here. What is it? 8:30. So yeah, I think those are the two subjects I wanted to talk about. Thanks for everybody who joined me today. I'm glad this live stream was coming through. It's always difficult to find a nice spot around my property. Believe it or not, I'm on 5 acres here, but there's only like 2 spots that I can actually live stream from. So yeah, such a level until yeah, yeah, a lot. I mean, it's all there. What do they say? Like you can bring, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time just waking up people on my side that are already like politically like halfway there, that are just like still like, just on this reservation of thought. They just do not want to venture outside, their theme of their brand of politics, their theme of politics. Uh, they just don't want to venture out. Even when you bring evidence to them, I mean, an abundance of evidence that disproves their theory. It's just like they become even more set in their ways. So, yeah, both the left and the right are guilty of it. But we have to be open to new ideas. We have to be, and especially ideas that make us uncomfortable. You know, um, that's where we need to get. So hopefully it doesn't have to get too bad. I don't know. Although, this is a nice, I'm having a, I'm still living a good life. Maybe more people need to start getting out and making videos like this. And I feel like I am taking a bit of a risk, like, on these subjects. Yeah. I do feel like I am taking a risk. Like, and like I said, it's like, I've had these ideas that spinning around in my head, and like one part of me is saying like, Joe, leave it alone. Just stick with prepping, do your bug out bag videos. You're going to lose subscribers, whatever. And I don't know. I don't care. I'm just doing this channel at this point, um, just going to be, I'm just going to be myself. I mean, honestly, if I'm just out here just trying to like stay away from myself all the time, I'm probably not going to be making good content. Especially when I'm doing a video and I'm thinking like, God, I feel like I have a much more important thing to like express to my viewers, but I'm not doing it because I'm afraid of like losing friends or something, or losing, whatever. I'm just doing what I just expressed, everybody else is doing, what's keeping this, keeping everybody sick, and keeping their thoughts and opinions to themselves. But obviously I didn't get too intense into my political beliefs. If I decide to do a channel like that, I'll probably do it on a different streaming platform. But yeah, cancel culture, it's communism. So I'll probably do it on another streaming platform if I do. But like I said, I don't have a ton of time to be even making a lot of these videos. The live streams are a little easier to do because I swear when I try to plan a video and think ahead, it never goes right. And I'm trying to like script it, it just never goes right. I feel like I'm much better just at these more kind of spur of the moment platforms where I can goof and make mistakes, and I don't have to like edit and delete. But anyways, I do have a video coming out about the garden, and I will have a video coming out about my new bug out bag, and then we're going to be doing a bug out run on the property. So stay tuned for that, and make sure, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. And until the next one, stay prepared.